a lot to take in this morning. So joining us with it all is NYPD Chief of Department Terence Monahan to explain what is being done to keep those violent clashes to a minimum here. So Chief Monahan, there is a lot to talk about. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan.
So
Glad to be here.
Dozens of protesters arrested yesterday. Can we get a final number from you?
Yeah, we had 72 arrests last night, 5 of them for felonies. Those were assaults on our police officer. 33 for misdemeanors. That ranged from obstruction of governmental administration, resisting arrest, and then another 34 for various violations, mainly disorderly conduct, blocking streets.
So there was a lot going on here, right? It got heated pretty quickly. Was anybody seriously hurt during all of this?
A few of our cops got injured. We had one of our cops had a garbage can thrown at him. He suffered a concussion. Another one of our sergeants, he was thrown to the ground. He suffered a concussion. He was out for a little bit, taken to the hospital. And a deputy inspector had his shoulders and back injured when he was thrown to the ground. So we also had another inspector punched in the face, but it was all right. And we also had someone who attempted to take a gun away from one of our captains.
At what point during these kind of escalations here do you decide that there's going to be an amount of force used by police during these clashes? So we have video this morning that shows one of your officers using a baton on a protester. It apparently breaks that baton in half. So walk me through the process here of how you kind of manage these situations. And we have that video. We could show it for you. I know you look puzzled by it, but we have the video we could throw up for you.
I can't see the video from where I am, but I was on the scene last night. on all of this, and it was when someone confronted, spit on a police officer, which happened a few times, they were arrested. And then immediately the group would charge the police officers trying to take that person away from the police officers as he was being placed under arrest. And that's where the obstructions came in. Our goal was to just take the troublemakers out of a group. This group last night was bent on confronting the police and fighting with the police. No, unlike the 99.9% of demonstrations that we do, which are peaceful, and people go out there and try and express their opinions, which we 100% support. Last night's group was bent on confronting, throwing bottles at the police, throwing garbage cans, throwing highway cones, garbage through the streets, taking over the highway. At that point, we had to go in and make arrests of individuals that were causing that mayhem.
So I want to talk about then moving forward to the protests that are scheduled for today and over the weekend, how you are moving forward, the department, to make sure active measures are in place to ensure this weekend's protests don't end in violence. So what kind of measures or what kind of things did you learn from yesterday that can prepare you for what we're going to see this weekend? There's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration out there.
In New York City, we've been through this before. We were through this large demonstrations back in 2014. And normally when we have the large demonstrations, the vast majority of people are out there just to express their views, their frustrations, and to protest. If there are individuals who are looking to cause violence, we will take them out of that group to allow the larger group just to continue to protest. We are very agile in what we do. We have a lot of police officers. There's going to be numerous police officers out on the scene, supervisors. You're going to see captains and above, all the way up to the chief's ranks on scene. No one takes action without it being directed by supervisors on the scene. Everything is coordinated when we do have to go in and make arrests. But hopefully we can have protests and let people express their opinions without having any arrests being made.
Understood. And, I want to get to another case, Chief, closer to home, which ignited racial tensions across the city, and that was Monday's Central Park incident. So what is the NYPD's position on what, if anything, the woman behind that call, Amy Cooper, will face in terms of charges? And if it's nothing, I'm just curious as to why.
Our detectives are working hand in hand right now with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. We are investigating what, if any, charges can be brought against her. Obviously, we don't want to make an arrest if the Manhattan District Attorney's Office isn't sure if they can prosecute that. So we're taking a look at exactly what her calls were. speaking to Christian, speaking to Amy, speaking to everyone involved, looking through all the videos to see if it sustains a charge.
You know,
Just the cop that showed up on that scene, obviously Christian was gone from the scene, so we didn't have that videotape. So now it's a backtracking and doing the investigation, working hand in hand with the prosecutors.
and in terms of people who are looking at this and saying, okay, well, right now she has faced no charges, it might be okay then to pick up the phone, call 911, and falsely accuse someone of something and not be charged. So just curious for your message for people who are watching that and saying, okay, there needs to be tough action against this. Do the laws need to be changed? Does something need to happen about these kinds of calls?
Now, listen, if it's a false call and we can prove it, there's going to be an arrest. As soon as we know.
Do you not think this was a false call?
A lot on the intent of the person who makes that call. And that's what we're working on with the DA's office. But if someone intentionally is making a false call and we can prove that on the scene, they'll be arrested right away. There's no place for that in this city. There's, the uproar because of this. What she's caused because of that call, we condemn that action. And if we can make that arrest, we will.
So you're not saying right now if you believe yet that call was actually a false call?
We have to work through the law. And the law, working with the DA's office, is what her intent was when she made that call. So it's working with them. We're doing some other investigative steps that the district attorney's office needs before they can move forward. But it is still an active investigation.
Understood. And look, lastly, I want to end on this. There are a lot of tense times right now. People have been cooped up in their apartments. There's a lot going on around the country. There's a lot going on in New York City right now. There's a lot of antitrust for police right now going around our country. So what do you think it needs to do within the department to keep the trust that you've worked hard to restore over the years, keep that going, or bring it back to some people who have lost it recently?
Listen, we move towards the neighborhood policing philosophy where we reach out to the communities, that we are out there, know who your cop is, and we're going to continue doing that. Our cops are going to be out there with the communities that they've gotten to know well and reach out on that ground level. The idea of neighborhood policing was to create these relationships before an incident like this happens somewhere in the country so that we have these relationships in place and that we can reach out to one another and that we can get past this. Again, this is an incident that happens in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A cop who's basically caused 800,000 law enforcement officers across this country to have to pay the price for his actions.
Understood. Chief Monahan, I know it's a very busy time for you. You have a lot ahead today, moving forward as well with the city reopening and phase 1 possibly next week. So thank you for making the time this morning to talk about all of these topics. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Stan.